Be so consistent that you become unstoppable not in noise but in your daily actions. Ask yourself this: what if the only thing standing between you and the results you want is your ability to show up daily no matter what? Not once in a while, not when it's easy, but every single day with intention, with follow-through, and without needing motivation. Most people don't lack talent. They lack consistency. They stop when it's boring. When no one is clapping, when progress feels slow, that's where they lose. But that's exactly where you win. This isn't about working harder than everyone else. It's about becoming the kind of person who doesn't break their rhythm. In this audiobook-style experience, I'll take you through the mindset, the daily habits, and the small decisions that make consistency your most powerful advantage. If you're serious about building a life you're proud of, this is where it starts. Not someday, right now. One solid day at a time. Chapter 1. Become unstoppable by showing up daily. I want you to think about the power of showing up. Not once, not when you feel strong, not when everything lines up. I am talking about showing up daily. This is where becoming unstoppable begins. Not in big moments, not in dramatic changes. It begins quietly. It begins when no one is watching. It begins with the decision to show up again today. Most people think progress comes from intensity. They think it comes from passion or talent or some special spark. But after watching people for decades, after working with ordinary men and women from every background, I can tell you this with complete honesty. Progress comes from consistency. It comes from doing what needs to be done, even when the excitement fades. It comes from daily actions repeated long enough to change how you see yourself. Showing up daily is not about perfection. It is about reliability. It is about becoming someone you can count on. When you show up every day, you start building trust with yourself. And self-trust is one of the most important forms of confidence a person can have. When you know that you will do what you say you will do, something inside you changes. You stand a little straighter. You speak with more clarity. You stop doubting your ability to follow through. People often wait for motivation before they act. That is a mistake. Motivation is unreliable. It comes and goes. Some days you wake up with energy. Some days you do not. If your progress depends on how you feel, your life will stay uneven. Showing up daily teaches you to act without asking permission from your moods. It teaches you that feelings are temporary, but actions shape your future. Think about your daily life. The alarm goes off. You feel tired. You feel resistance. In that moment, you have a choice. You can negotiate with yourself or you can show up. Every time you choose to show up, even in a small way, you strengthen your discipline. You are training your mind to understand that action comes first. Feelings can catch up later. Daily effort may not feel impressive. It may even feel boring, but boring done consistently beats exciting done occasionally. Small actions done every day build momentum. Momentum changes how effort feels. What once felt heavy starts to feel normal. What once felt hard becomes routine, and routines shape results. When you show up daily, you remove the pressure to do everything at once. You stop chasing quick wins. You focus on progress that lasts. This takes stress out of the process. You no longer ask, how fast can I change? You ask, how steady can I be? That question alone can change your behavior. Many people quit because they expect immediate results. They work for a week or a month and if nothing dramatic happens, they stop. They do not realize that consistency works quietly at first. The results are happening beneath the surface. Skills are forming, discipline is strengthening, identity is shifting. Then one day the results show up and people call it luck. But it was never luck. It was daily effort stacking up. Showing up daily also builds emotional strength. On days when you feel low, showing up proves that you are bigger than your emotions. On days when you feel confident, showing up keeps you grounded. It creates balance. It prevents you from swinging between extremes. Consistency stabilizes the mind. There will be days when you miss a step. That is human. Becoming unstoppable does not mean never failing. It means refusing to disappear. It means returning quickly. Missing one day is not the problem. Letting one day turn into a week is where damage happens. Showing up daily teaches you to recover faster. You learn that one mistake does not erase progress. Your self-image is shaped by what you repeatedly do. If you show up daily, even in small ways, you begin to see yourself as a disciplined person. That identity changes how you make decisions. You stop asking if you should do the work. You already know the answer. You are someone who shows up. This is how consistency becomes unstoppable. Not because it feels powerful at first, but because it slowly removes your old limits. You stop relying on bursts of effort. You stop needing external pressure. You become internally driven, and internal drive lasts. Daily showing up also simplifies life. You do not waste energy deciding whether to act. You already decided. The decision was made when you committed to consistency. That frees your mind. Less thinking, more doing, less stress, more progress. People often underestimate what they can become by doing simple things daily. Reading a few pages, practicing a skill, taking care of health, improving communication. These actions seem small, but over time they create a person with depth, a person with control, a person with direction. Showing up daily is also a form of self-respect. It says that your goals matter. It says your future matters. You stop waiting for perfect conditions. You work with what you have. That attitude attracts better opportunities because you are prepared when they arrive. When you look back at your life later, you will not regret the days you showed up tired. You will not regret the days you kept going quietly. Those days build character, and character determines long-term success. Being unstoppable does not mean you overpower the world. It means you stop fighting yourself. Consistency aligns your actions with your intentions. When those two match, progress becomes natural. So today matters not because it is special but because it is repeatable. Show up today and you make tomorrow easier. Show up tomorrow and you create momentum. Momentum reduces effort. Reduced effort increases consistency, and consistency makes quitting feel unnecessary. This is a long-term game, and that should encourage you. You do not need to rush. You need to return. You need to show up again and again until it becomes part of who you are. If you want confidence, show up daily. If you want discipline, show up daily. If you want results that last, show up daily. This is not complicated, but it requires commitment. And commitment grows through action. Be patient with yourself. Be firm with your habits. Progress is not about dramatic change. It is about steady presence. When you learn to show up daily, you stop being fragile. You stop being dependent on circumstances. You become reliable, and reliability is powerful. Reliable effort creates reliable results. Reliable behavior creates a reliable future. This is how ordinary people become extraordinary. Not by doing rare things, but by doing common things with uncommon consistency. Day after day, choice after choice, show up today. Then do it again tomorrow. Keep going long enough and you will not need to chase unstoppable. You will realize you already became it. Chapter 2. Win every day through steady follow-through. Winning every day does not mean doing something dramatic. It does not mean beating someone else or reaching a big milestone each morning. Winning every day means you finish what you start. It means you follow through on the small promises you make to yourself. That is where steady follow-through changes a life. Most people know what to do. The problem is not lack of knowledge. The problem is lack of follow-through. Ideas are common. Good intentions are common. What is rare is the habit of completing simple actions day after day. Follow-through is the bridge between knowing and becoming. Without it, plans stay unfinished and goals stay distant. When you wake up in the morning, you are given a fresh chance to win. That win does not require hours of work or perfect conditions. It requires progress. Even a small step completed fully counts. When you finish something you plan to do, your mind records a success. That success builds belief. Belief changes behavior. Many people lose confidence not because they fail once, but because they leave too many things unfinished. Unfinished actions create mental weight. You carry them with you. They drain energy. Follow through clears that weight. It brings relief. It brings clarity. You feel lighter when you complete tasks because your mind is no longer divided. Winning daily through follow-through teaches responsibility. You stop blaming time or circumstances. You begin to own your choices. Ownership builds strength. It shifts your focus from what you want to what you are willing to complete. That shift changes results. Follow-through also creates trust. Not with others first, but with yourself. Each time you complete what you planned, you send a message to your mind that you are dependable. Dependability creates stability. Stability allows growth. A person who follows through becomes steady under pressure. Some days your effort will be small. That is fine. The win comes from finishing the effort, not from its size. A completed small task beats an unfinished big one every time. Completion trains discipline. Discipline trains consistency. People often chase motivation. They wait until they feel ready. But follow-through does not depend on readiness. It depends on commitment. Commitment does not ask how you feel. It asks what needs to be finished today. That question simplifies life. Daily follow-through reduces stress. When you know you will complete your tasks, you stop worrying about them. Anxiety often comes from avoidance. Action removes tension. Completion creates peace. Winning daily also builds momentum. Momentum comes from finishing. When you finish one task, you are more likely to start the next. When you leave tasks incomplete, you hesitate. Momentum makes progress feel smoother. It reduces resistance. Follow-through shapes your identity. Over time, you stop seeing yourself as someone who tries. You begin to see yourself as someone who finishes. That identity changes how you approach challenges. You stop backing away when things get uncomfortable. You stay until the task is done. Life rewards finishers, not perfect people, not the most talented finishers. Opportunities grow when others can rely on you. Reliability attracts trust. Trust opens doors. Steady follow-through also teaches patience. You stop rushing. You focus on doing things properly. This reduces mistakes. It improves quality. Quality builds pride. Pride fuels motivation naturally. There will be days when follow-through feels heavy. Those days matter the most. Completing tasks on easy days is simple. Completing tasks on hard days builds character. Character carries you through uncertainty. Winning every day does not require winning everything. It requires refusing to quit on the day. Even partial completion matters. The key is to move forward and close the loop. Leaving nothing hanging builds confidence. When you review your day at night, ask one simple question. Did I follow through on what mattered most today? That reflection improves awareness. Awareness improves discipline. Follow-through also protects self-respect. Each unfinished promise chips away at how you see yourself. Each completed promise strengthens it. Self-respect influences every area of life from work to relationships to health. People who follow through experience fewer regrets. Regret often comes from knowing you could have finished but did not. Completion removes that feeling. You rest better when your day feels complete. Steady follow-through does not require talent. It requires intention. Anyone can practice it. That is what makes it powerful. It levels the field. It gives ordinary people extraordinary results over time. You do not need to overhaul your life. You need to close the gaps between intention and action. Start with one commitment, finish it, then repeat. Progress grows through repetition. Follow-through also improves focus. When you commit to finishing, you reduce distraction. You stop jumping between tasks. You stay present. Presence improves quality and speed. Winning daily through follow-through builds emotional control. You stop reacting to discomfort. You act despite it. That control spreads to other areas of life. You become calmer, more grounded. Over time, steady follow-through becomes a habit. Habits reduce effort. What once required discipline becomes automatic. That is when progress accelerates. People often ask how to stay consistent. The answer is simple. Stop starting too much. Start less. Finish more. Completion builds strength faster than constant planning. When you follow through daily, you earn confidence honestly, not through words, through action. That confidence is stable because it is based on evidence. Life does not change in one big moment. It changes when daily effort is completed consistently. That is how you win quietly. That is how progress compounds. Follow through also teaches respect for time. You stop wasting it. You understand that each day has value. You treat your time with care. If you want to feel proud at the end of the day, focus on finishing one meaningful task. That feeling carries into tomorrow. It builds momentum. Winning every day is not about doing more. It is about finishing what matters. That focus simplifies decisions. It removes noise. Steady follow-through turns potential into performance. Potential alone does nothing. Completion creates results. Commit to finishing today, not perfectly, but fully. Do what you said you would do. That is a win. Repeat that process daily and your life will start to feel different, more controlled, more intentional, more confident. This is how steady follow-through creates real progress. Not fast, not flashy, but lasting. Win today by finishing something meaningful. Then do it again tomorrow. Over time, you will look back and realize that those daily wins built a life you respect. Chapter 3. Build power by never skipping twice. Power is not built by being perfect. Power is built by refusing to disappear. One missed day does not destroy progress. What destroys progress is letting one missed day turn into a pattern. That is why never skipping twice is such a powerful rule. It protects your growth. When life gets messy, and life always gets messy, every human being slips, energy drops, focus breaks, plans fall apart. That is normal. Expecting yourself to never miss is unrealistic. Expecting yourself to return immediately is reasonable. This rule removes guilt and replaces it with responsibility. You are allowed to miss once. You are not allowed to vanish. When people quit, they rarely quit in one decision. They quit slowly. First they miss a day, then they feel disappointed. Then they miss again. Then they feel behind. Then quitting feels easier than restarting. Never skipping twice breaks that chain early. It stops the slide before it gains speed. The first skip usually comes from tiredness or distraction. The second skip comes from a story you tell yourself. That story sounds reasonable. I already missed yesterday. I will restart next week. That is the moment where power is either built or lost. Returning immediately shuts down that story. Never skipping twice trains recovery. Recovery is more important than intensity. Life does not reward people who never fall. Life rewards people who stand back up quickly. This rule teaches your mind that falling is temporary. You stop fearing mistakes because you trust your ability to return. Many people waste energy feeling bad about missing a day. Guilt does not help progress. Action does. The fastest way to remove guilt is to act again. One small action restores momentum. One return restores belief. This rule also builds emotional strength. On the day after you miss, resistance will feel stronger. Your mind will try to delay. That discomfort is the training ground. Acting in that moment strengthens discipline more than acting on easy days. Power grows when you act despite hesitation. Never skipping twice keeps habits alive. Habits die from neglect, not from imperfection. One missed workout does not break fitness. One missed study session does not end learning. Two missed sessions start weakening the routine. This rule keeps the habit breathing. This approach removes all or nothing thinking. You stop believing that one mistake ruins everything. You replace that belief with flexibility. Flexible people last longer. They adapt. They continue. When you live by this rule, your confidence becomes stable. You trust yourself to return. That trust reduces fear of failure. When fear decreases, action increases. That creates progress. Never skipping twice also protects identity. Identity is shaped by patterns. A single break does not define you. Repeated breaks do. This rule guards your identity by keeping breaks short. This rule works in every area: health, work, learning, relationships. Miss a workout, return the next day. Miss a writing session, write the next morning. Miss a conversation you plan to have it tomorrow. Progress stays intact. Power is built through continuity. Continuity does not require perfection. It requires presence. This rule keeps you present. Many people wait for motivation to return after a miss. That is a mistake. Motivation often follows action, not the other way around. Returning immediately brings motivation back faster. Never skipping twice also reduces pressure. You no longer panic when a day goes wrong. You know exactly what to do next. Return. Simple rules reduce mental stress. This rule teaches respect for momentum. Momentum is fragile. It grows slowly and breaks easily. Returning quickly protects it. The strongest people are not those who never stumble. They are those who refuse to stay down. This rule trains that mindset daily. When you apply this consistently, your habits become resilient. They survive busy schedules. They survive low energy. They survive emotional dips. That resilience creates long-term results. This rule also builds honesty. You stop lying to yourself about restarting later. Later becomes tomorrow. Tomorrow becomes today. Honesty strengthens discipline. Never skipping twice creates rhythm. Rhythm is easier to maintain than bursts of effort. Rhythm keeps progress steady over time. This rule rewires how you see mistakes. Mistakes become signals, not failures. Signals to return. People who build power through this rule stop fearing breaks. They know breaks are temporary. That confidence keeps them calm. Never skipping twice also shortens recovery time. The longer you wait, the harder it feels to return. Returning immediately keeps the barrier low. This rule works because it is realistic. It respects human nature while demanding responsibility. It balances compassion with discipline. Power grows when you prove to yourself that no single day controls your future. Only patterns do. Apply this rule quietly. No drama, no punishment. Just return. When you look back months later, you will not remember the days you missed. You will remember that you never stopped for long. That consistency builds pride. Never skipping twice builds endurance. Endurance outlasts motivation. Endurance creates unstoppable progress. This rule also improves self-control. You stop reacting emotionally to mistakes. You respond with action. If you want strength that lasts, focus on recovery speed, not flawlessness. Life will interrupt you. Schedules will break. Energy will drop. That is not the test. The test is how fast you return. Never skipping twice keeps you moving forward. Even when progress feels uneven, power is built quietly through this rule, day after day, return after return. One return does not feel powerful. Hundreds of returns change who you are. This is how discipline becomes durable. This is how habits survive reality. Miss once and learn. Miss twice and weaken. Return immediately and grow stronger. Commit to returning tomorrow no matter what happened today. This rule alone can change your future because it keeps you in the game, and staying in the game long enough is how power is built. Chapter 4. Turn consistency into your unfair advantage. Most people are trying to be faster, louder, or smarter than others. They chase motivation. They look for shortcuts. They burn out. But there's something that beats all of that. Something quieter. Something most people ignore because it doesn't seem flashy at first. Consistency. When you make consistency your way of living, it becomes your biggest strength. It becomes the edge that sets you apart in a world where people give up too soon or keep starting over. Turning consistency into your unfair advantage starts with one realization. Most people won't stick. They'll start, stop, change directions, lose focus, get bored, forget why they started. That's where you win, not by being the best today, but by staying in the game longer than everyone else. In a world full of distractions and noise, being consistent is rare. That's what makes it powerful. There's something that happens to a person who keeps showing up. When you repeat actions every single day, even when they're small, you start building momentum that doesn't rely on how you feel. It stops being about inspiration and becomes who you are. You don't have to hype yourself up. You just follow through. You just keep going. And that slowly separates you from people who only take action when they feel good. It's not about making huge progress in a day. It's about making some progress every day. Consistency compounds. You can't always see the change in a week. But you'll feel it in your habits. You'll feel it in your confidence. You'll see it in your results over time. One day of hard work doesn't change much. But hundreds of days stacked together, that's when people start calling you unstoppable. Most people lose because they stop and restart too many times. Restarting is hard. It takes more energy to get back on track than it does to stay on track. That's why consistency is so powerful. It saves you from your own back and forth thinking. When you build systems and routines that guide your actions daily, you protect yourself from overthinking, from laziness, from distractions. You make decisions in advance so you don't waste energy deciding every day. This is not about being extreme. It's not about waking up at 4 a.m. or doing more than you can handle. That usually leads to burnout. Real consistency is built on sustainability. You figure out what you can realistically keep doing even on your worst days, not your best days, your worst one. Can you stick to it when you're tired, when you're busy, when you feel like giving yourself a break? If yes, then you're on the right track. That's how you earn your edge. Because when others stop, you continue. When others make excuses, you deliver. When others take breaks they don't need, you show up anyway and you don't need to say anything. Your actions speak. People start noticing. They see the difference in how you carry yourself, how you work, how you stay consistent even when things aren't easy. This changes your identity, too. You stop being someone who tries. You become someone who follows through. That kind of person builds self-respect. That kind of person builds confidence from real evidence, not just positive talk. When you live consistency, you start trusting yourself. You start feeling more grounded. You stop over-explaining yourself because you know you're doing the work. Consistency also helps you avoid burnout. That might sound surprising, but it's true because people who go hard for short bursts end up exhausted. They push too much then crack. But when you go steady, not slow, just steady, your body, mind, and energy stay balanced. You build routines that protect your well-being instead of harming it. You don't need to be the loudest in the room. You just need to be the one who's still in the room when others are gone. Consistency wins because it creates dependability. You become someone others can rely on. That opens up opportunities. People trust consistent people more than talented people. You show them what to expect. You remove uncertainty. That kind of person stands out everywhere in business, in friendships, in life. Now, here's the truth. Being consistent is hard in the beginning. Your mind wants variety. Your emotions will tell you to take a break. You'll feel like things aren't moving fast enough. That's where most people give up. They don't feel results fast enough. So, they assume their efforts aren't working. But real growth doesn't follow your emotions. It follows your habits. If you want to make consistency your advantage, stop judging your progress every day. Start tracking your actions. Did you do what you said you would do? Did you show up? That's what matters. Progress takes care of itself when you take care of your habits. You also need to be patient, not passive patient. You keep acting without rushing. You give your results time to show up. You don't try to force progress. You build it slowly, steadily, without panic. This mindset is rare because we're trained to want everything now. But speed without direction leads nowhere. And if you're not consistent, speed fades fast. The most underestimated power is being the person who keeps showing up after the excitement is gone, after the applause fades, after the results take longer than expected. Consistency is not glamorous, but it's what makes you dangerous. Not to others, but to your old self. You become a version of yourself that doesn't break every time things get hard. This doesn't mean you never rest. Rest is part of consistency, too. But it's planned, not reactive. You rest to recover, not to avoid. You pause with intention, not from guilt or laziness. That difference is everything. You don't need to do big things to become consistent. Start with showing up for small habits. Protect those habits like your life depends on them, because your future does. The person you become is built by what you do daily, not what you do occasionally. And when you do the right things consistently, you win, not once, but for the rest of your life. So when others chase hacks, you keep building. When others look for motivation, you stay committed. When others try to shortcut effort, you choose discipline. Because consistency isn't just a routine, it's a way of living. And once you own it, nothing can shake you. It becomes your advantage. It becomes your power. It becomes the reason you rise while others hesitate. Keep your head down. Keep doing the work. Keep stacking the days. You don't have to rush success. You just have to keep moving in the right direction without stopping. That's how you turn consistency into the edge no one can compete with. That's how you become unstoppable. Not someday, but starting now. Chapter 5. Create momentum with simple, repeatable actions. Momentum doesn't come from massive action. It comes from motion that is small, simple, and repeatable. The biggest mistake people make is thinking that in order to build momentum, they need to do something dramatic. They need to make a giant leap, a big change, a life-altering decision. But what actually builds momentum, the kind that lasts, is showing up with simple actions you can repeat without overthinking or burning out. Momentum is emotional. You feel it when things start clicking, when progress becomes natural, when effort starts feeling less heavy. But here's the truth. Momentum doesn't find you. You create it. And the easiest way to create it is through small actions done over and over until they become part of your life. You don't need to be extreme. You need to be steady. You need to take actions that are so clear and so doable that they remove hesitation. When you know exactly what you're doing and when, you don't waste time negotiating with yourself. You move, you act, you complete. That movement builds energy. That energy builds confidence. And that confidence builds momentum. Most people lose progress not because they lack motivation, but because their actions are too complex. Complexity causes friction. When something feels hard to start, you put it off. You delay. Then you feel guilty. Then you delay more. It becomes a cycle. But if your actions are simple, so simple you can do them even on low-energy days, you stay in motion. And staying in motion creates rhythm. You can feel this in daily life. Think about the mornings you start with one win, maybe making your bed, drinking water, writing down what matters today. It's not a big thing, but it changes your mental state. That first action leads to the next. That's how momentum feels. It's not a loud explosion. It's a quiet rhythm. You build one action at a time. This is not about perfection. It's about movement. Momentum doesn't ask for flawless execution. It just wants repetition. When you do something repeatedly, you remove the fear around it. You stop asking, "What if I can't keep this up?" Because you already are. You stop wondering if it's worth it because you already feel better. That internal shift is powerful. Simple, repeatable actions don't mean easy. They just mean manageable. You design your habits to match your real life, not your perfect day, not your ideal mood, but the reality of your schedule, energy, and focus. The more your actions fit your life, the more likely you are to stick with them. Start by asking yourself what actions make you feel good after doing them. Not during, after. Most things that build momentum don't feel exciting while you're doing them, but they leave you feeling grounded, proud, and in control. That feeling is your signal. Build around it. Your job is to build a list of these actions and turn them into non-negotiables. Not optional. Not when I feel like it. Non-negotiable. Even if it's 5 minutes a day. Even if you're tired. Especially if you're tired. That's where the real shift begins. When you act not from comfort, but from commitment. Don't overplan. Pick 1 or 2 actions you can do every day. Write for 10 minutes. Walk for 15. Read a few pages. Check in with your goals. Track your habits. Keep it small. Keep it sharp. Then repeat again and again. Simplicity wins because it removes excuses. Momentum also grows when you track your progress. You don't need to obsess. But when you can look back and say, I showed up every day this week. Something clicks in your mind. You start seeing yourself as someone who follows through. That belief fuels consistency, and consistency fuels results. Another key to momentum is limiting resets. Every time you stop and start again, you lose rhythm. Not all progress, but rhythm. And rhythm is where confidence lives. The best way to keep rhythm alive is to reduce the gap between intention and action. Don't wait until the timing is right. Don't try to make the action perfect. Just begin. The quicker you start, the easier it becomes. Momentum builds in silence. You won't always see it right away, but it's there in the way you carry yourself, in the choices you make, in the things you no longer struggle with. You begin to look back and realize, I don't even think about doing this anymore. I just do it. That's the sign that momentum has taken hold. You also don't need to be motivated every day. That's another lie people believe. Momentum carries you when motivation fades. Once you've built enough reps, your actions become part of your identity. You stop trying to convince yourself. You just move. You just act because that's who you've become. Don't underestimate the power of tiny actions. 10 minutes of action done daily beats 2 hours done once a week. Small repeated behaviors shape how you see yourself. They change what you expect from yourself. And over time, they make big goals feel normal. You don't need approval. You don't need permission. You need movement. The world respects people who stay in motion. Not because they're the fastest, but because they're the ones who don't disappear. You can do this anywhere. You can apply it to health, to learning, to your career, to relationships, to self-discipline. Whatever matters to you can be moved forward by simple repeatable steps. One small habit in each area done every day will change your life over time. You don't need to fix everything all at once. You need to begin something and keep going. Some days your actions will feel small. They will feel boring. But boring is not the enemy. In fact, boring is what builds mastery. The person who can stay consistent through boredom wins, because boredom is where most people stop. If you keep going, you gain an edge. Build your own system. Clears throat. Make it so practical that it removes doubt. Know what you do every morning. Know what you do when you're tired. Know what to focus on when the day goes wrong. That system becomes your support. It carries you on tough days. It pushes you forward on good ones. Don't wait until you're ready. You'll never feel perfectly ready. Begin with something small and prove to yourself that motion is possible. That first step matters more than planning the entire journey. One small move creates more change than a 100 thought. When momentum becomes part of your life, everything feels lighter. You no longer need to force effort. You start enjoying the process. You wake up knowing you're building something, not reacting to everything around you. That clarity changes everything. The difference between feeling stuck and feeling powerful is often one decision, one simple action done today, one habit repeated without negotiation, one choice that you don't delay. That's how momentum is created. Not by waiting, not by hoping, but by doing something small that you can repeat again tomorrow and the next day and the day after that, until your life starts moving in a direction that no longer feels out of reach because you're already walking toward it. Chapter 6. Stay unstoppable by doing basics daily. Being unstoppable doesn't come from mastering advanced tactics or chasing perfect conditions. It comes from doing the basics every single day with discipline and focus. The truth is, the people who stay consistent and keep moving forward are not doing anything magical. They've just learned to never drift away from what matters most. They've committed to the fundamentals and made them part of who they are. That's how you stay strong when life gets hard. That's how you keep going when others fall off. That's how you stay unstoppable, by doing the basics daily without making excuses. The basics are often overlooked because they seem too simple. People think they need something new to feel progress. They start chasing variety. But the real change, the kind that sticks, comes from repeating what works until it becomes second nature. The basics are not boring when you realize they are the foundation of every big result you've ever seen. Your energy, your focus, your habits, your growth. They all begin and end with how well you handle the daily basics. What are the basics? Waking up with intention, getting quality rest, drinking water, moving your body, planning your day, saying no to distraction, taking care of your mental state, doing the work you said you would do, reflecting before bed. These are not complicated. You already know them, but knowing them isn't enough. Following through daily is what creates separation between people who talk and people who grow. Staying unstoppable doesn't mean you feel powerful every day. Some days you'll feel tired. Some days will feel heavy. But even on those days, you still have control over the basics. You may not be able to do everything, but you can always do something. When you protect your fundamentals, you protect your progress. You don't need more information. You need more repetition. Growth is not about how much you know. It's about how often you apply what you already know. You've probably read the same advice in different words over and over. And that's because the truth doesn't change. The challenge is not discovering the truth. The challenge is living it consistently. Most people try to fix their lives with dramatic changes. They wait for a perfect week to reset everything. But they forget that success lives in ordinary days. If you can master the ordinary, you can handle any. If you can keep doing the simple things well every day without giving yourself excuses, you will build a kind of quiet strength that no one can shake. This approach builds momentum. Clears throat. Momentum isn't something you find. It's something you create by repeating useful actions over and over again. You brush your teeth every day. You eat daily. You sleep each night. Those are basic routines you don't skip. What if your goals had the same level of consistency? What if working on your future was as automatic as your morning routine? That's the goal. To make your growth habits non-negotiable, to remove the thinking, to stop debating with yourself. You shouldn't have to convince yourself every morning to do what you know is right. When the basics are locked in, the conversation in your head gets quiet. You stop asking if you should take action. You just act. This kind of rhythm creates confidence, not the fake kind of confidence that comes from a motivational high. The real kind, the type that comes from showing up again and again, even when it's hard. When you keep doing the basics daily, you begin to trust yourself. That trust becomes your anchor. When you feel tired or distracted, you don't fall apart. You fall back into your structure. The basics also protect you during setbacks. Life will challenge you. That's guaranteed. And when it does, the only thing that keeps you steady is your habits. You don't rise to your goals during chaos. You fall to your routines. If your routines are solid, you stay in control. If your basics are strong, you recover faster. You stay clear-headed when others spiral. You keep moving when others stall. It's not about intensity, it's about repetition. Anyone can have a strong day. Very few people can string strong days together. The people who stay unstoppable are not chasing highs. They're building a floor they never fall below. A floor made of habits, routines, discipline, and self-respect. This doesn't mean your days will always be perfect. Perfection is not the goal. The goal is to be reliable. To know that no matter what, you'll still show up. Even if you're slower today, even if you feel off, even if nothing goes as planned, you still hit the basics. That's what gives you power in the long run. When you keep the basics strong, everything else improves. Your energy is higher. Your mindset is sharper. Your results become more consistent. People start to notice your discipline. They start to see that you're not just motivated, you're committed. You're someone who can be counted on. And that kind of reputation changes your life. It's easy to get distracted by trends. Easy to compare your path to someone else's. Easy to chase quick fixes, but at the end of the day, the basics will always win. Simple actions done consistently outperform complicated plans done occasionally. What you do daily is more important than what you do sometimes. What you keep repeating becomes who you are. Even high performers return to the basics. Athletes, artists, leaders, they all practice fundamentals. Not because they're beginners, but because they know the basics are the foundation of greatness. If you want to stay strong, you don't outgrow the basics. You double down on them. This is how you protect your progress. This is how you stay calm under pressure. This is how you stay in control when life gets unpredictable. The basics are not just a starting point. They're your anchor. Every day you wake up, you get another chance to act with discipline. Another chance to say yes to the right things and no to the wrong ones. Another chance to choose action over excuses. Another chance to repeat what works. Don't underestimate the power of small daily victories. Those are the moments that build your identity. Those are the decisions that shape your future. The person who sticks to the basics even when it's not exciting, even when it's hard, becomes the person who keeps rising. Keep it simple. Keep it honest. Keep doing what works. That's how you stay unstoppable. Not by adding more, but by protecting the essentials every single day. And when you do that long enough, you won't need to chase success. You'll become the kind of person who naturally attracts it. Chapter 7. Lock progress by keeping daily promises. Progress is not just something you chase. It's something you protect. It's something you lock in by keeping the daily promises you make to yourself. These promises may look small on the outside, but they shape how you see yourself. Every time you follow through on what you said you do, even if it's uncomfortable or inconvenient, you strengthen your identity. And when you do that repeatedly, you become someone who doesn't just grow. You become someone who refuses to shrink. People talk a lot about goals. They talk about vision boards, big plans, and breakthrough moments. But none of that means anything if the small promises you make each day don't get kept. The real work is less about inspiration and more about execution. Your life doesn't change from what you say you'll do. It changes when you do what you said you would. That's where progress locks in. That's where growth becomes real. That's where confidence is built. Not from results alone, but from self-respect. The promises you make daily are not always exciting. They often look like waking up when you planned, doing your workout even when you're tired, finishing the task you've been avoiding, taking 5 minutes to reflect, saying no to that old habit, choosing focus when distraction tempts you. These may seem ordinary, but when you keep them daily, they shape the way you think, move, and live. You start to act like someone who keeps moving forward no matter what. You've probably made promises to yourself before that didn't stick. That's not because you're weak. It's because too many people try to keep big promises while ignoring the smaller ones. The big ones break because the small ones were never built. Keeping your word starts with the basics. It starts with one daily commitment that you treat like it matters because it does. Every time you say, "I'll do it tomorrow," you're training your brain to believe that your word isn't final. But when you say, "I'll do it today," and you actually do even just one thing, you take control back. When you keep your word to yourself, something inside you shifts. You feel more stable. You feel more in control. You stop chasing confidence from outside sources because you start generating it from within. It becomes less about what people think of you and more about how you feel about yourself when no one's watching. That is the root of unstoppable growth in a trust built one choice at a time. Progress doesn't always come with a big reward or a loud celebration. Sometimes it comes quietly in the feeling of peace when you go to bed knowing you did what you said you would. In the calm that shows up when you're not carrying the guilt of neglecting what matters. That emotional weight lifts when you start honoring your own word. And the more you do, the more solid your progress becomes. You're no longer slipping forward and backward. You're locking things in. This is also about discipline. Discipline is not punishment, it's alignment. When your actions match your intentions, you feel powerful. You don't need to be forced to act. You want to act because you're proving something to yourself. Each time you follow through, even when it's hard, you're saying, I matter enough to keep this promise. That belief alone can change the entire direction of your life. But keeping daily promises is not about being perfect. You will have days where you fall short. That's not failure. That's feedback. What matters is how fast you come back. The goal is not perfection. The goal is persistence. And the most powerful way to stay persistent is to focus on just 1 or 2 promises each day. Not 10, not 20, just the essentials, the actions that move your life forward and keep your character strong. When you know your promises are real, you stop second-guessing yourself. You walk into each day with clarity. You don't waste time arguing with your own thoughts. You act and that act becomes your anchor. On hard days, on tired days, on quiet days, the promises stay. That's how you build a life that doesn't shake easily. That's how you make progress that lasts. People often talk about willpower, but what if the real strength comes from deciding once and sticking to that choice each day? What if the key is removing the option to back out? That's the power of daily promises. They remove the constant debate. They remove emotional decision-making. You stop asking should and instead say, I already said I would. This doesn't mean you force yourself through burnout. It means you stay aligned with what matters. If you need to rest, rest, but don't break your word. Maybe you adjust the pace, but you still show up. Maybe you slow down, but you still do something. That kind of consistency builds momentum. You don't have to restart over and over again. It also builds integrity not just with others but with yourself. And that kind of integrity is rare. When people know you keep your word, they trust you. When you know you keep your word, you trust yourself. That's what gives you emotional stability. That's what makes you feel capable in uncertain times. Your promises become your structure. Progress becomes permanent when you stop starting over. That only happens when your daily actions are non-negotiable, not extreme, not overwhelming, just consistent, just honest, just followed through one at a time. You create stability not by doing more, but by doing what you said you would, no matter how small. This is how you take your power back. This is how you stop depending on hype or momentum to stay disciplined. You build your life around promises that mean something to you. And when those promises become part of your routine, you don't need to search for motivation. You don't need external pressure. You act because that's who you are now. You can start today. One promise, one action, one win, and then repeat it tomorrow. That's how progress locks in, through repetition, through reliability, through self-respect. You don't need to fix everything overnight. You just need to become someone who follows through on what matters. Everything else grows from there. The truth is your life is built on the quiet promises you keep or break. When you stop breaking them, you stop breaking your momentum. You stop breaking your confidence. You stop breaking your focus. And you begin building something you can trust. A future based on action, not just ideas. A future built by someone who shows up daily, consistently, relentlessly. Chapter 8. Remove excuses by acting without motivation. Waiting for motivation is the most common trap people fall into. It sounds harmless, but it's the reason so many goals never turn into action. Motivation is a feeling, and feelings change. Sometimes you wake up inspired and ready to go. Other times, you don't feel like doing anything. But if your actions are controlled by how you feel in the moment, your progress will always be inconsistent. If you want real growth, you need to learn how to act without waiting for motivation. That's how you remove excuses. That's how you become reliable. That's how you start to live with intention instead of reaction. The truth is, most people know what they need to do. The steps are not the problem. The problem is they keep waiting to feel ready. They wait for the perfect head space. They wait for energy. They wait for clarity. But life is not built on waiting. It's built on movement. And movement doesn't require a good mood. It requires a decision. Acting without motivation is not about forcing yourself. It's about understanding that action can come first and motivation can come later. There's a strange thing that happens when you take action while feeling flat or unmotivated. As you begin to move, your energy shifts. Your mind catches up. You start to feel better because you stopped sitting in indecision. Action creates clarity. Action creates momentum. You don't have to believe in the action fully at first. You just have to begin. And when you begin, you break the pattern of waiting. Excuses are often well-worded lies. They sound logical. They sound justified. But they all have one thing in common. They delay action. I'm too tired. It's not the right time. I don't feel like it. These are not facts. They're signals that your brain is trying to keep you comfortable. And comfort is the enemy of growth. If you want to live a life that moves forward, you need to stop giving excuses room to speak. You need to act before they get loud. One way to break the habit of waiting is to simplify your approach. Don't think about the whole task. Don't plan every step before you begin. Just do the first piece. Get dressed. Open your notes. Start the timer. Make the call. Send the message. Begin the first step without analyzing it too much. Once you start, it's easier to continue. The hardest part is not doing the work. It's starting the work while you don't feel like it. Another way to eliminate excuses is to create structure. When your day has systems, you don't rely on willpower to move. You just follow the plan. Routines are powerful because they take the decision-making out of the process. You don't wake up wondering what to do. You already know. You already committed. And when it's written down, when it's scheduled, when it's part of your flow, it becomes harder to skip. If you wait until you feel inspired to do the work, you'll lose more days than you win. But if you learn to show up anyway, you'll outperform people who are more talented, more skilled, or more experienced. Discipline beats excitement every single time. Excitement fades. Discipline stays. And discipline is built in the moments when you feel like skipping, but act anyway. There's power in becoming the type of person who moves without needing a push. That kind of person is rare. Most people stop when motivation runs out. But the ones who rise are the ones who built the skill of acting without needing to feel ready. That's what makes you dependable. That's what makes you strong. Not strength in your body, but strength in your decisions. You will always have moments where resistance shows up. Your mind will say, take a break. You've done enough. You can catch up late. This is when you need to remind yourself excuses sound better before you act. Once you take the first step, they start to fall apart. You prove them wrong through action. Some of your best work will come from days when you didn't feel like doing anything. Some of your biggest breakthroughs will come from moments when you acted anyway. You don't have to feel inspired to do the work. You just have to be willing. That willingness will take you further than waiting for the perfect moment ever will. If you're tired, work slowly but still work. If you're unsure, start small, but still start. If you're distracted, take a breath, but still show up. The key is to never let a feeling decide your future. You can acknowledge it, but you don't have to obey it. You also build confidence every time you act without motivation. That confidence is not about pretending to be strong. It's about proving to yourself that you can be consistent even when it's hard. Every time you show up, you take back control. You remind yourself that you don't need permission from your emotions to make progress. Start creating non-negotiable habits in your day. Simple ones, the kind you can do in 5 or 10 minutes. These actions act like anchors. They keep you grounded. They remind you that your growth doesn't depend on how the day feels. It depends on how you respond. And the more you respond with action, the stronger your mindset becomes. There is a level of freedom that comes from not needing to feel motivated. It removes the pressure. It gives you back your power. You no longer sit around waiting. You don't hope for change. You create it. That's where real progress comes from. That's where transformation happens. Not from bursts of inspiration, but from steady steps that don't stop. This approach changes how you view responsibility. You stop thinking that life should feel easy all the time. You accept that some days are harder than others and you move anyway. You stop overvaluing motivation and start trusting discipline. You stop chasing feelings and start building consistency. Your habits should not depend on your mood. If your actions only happen when you feel good, then your growth will always be temporary. But when your actions happen because they're part of your standard, that's when you become consistent. That's when you become dangerous. Not to others, but to every excuse that once held you back. You are capable of doing more than your mind tells you. You are stronger than the voice that says, "Not today." You've already made it through tough days before. This is no different. What separates people who grow from those who stay stuck is not who had more motivation. It's who acted without it. Keep this in mind. You don't have to want to do it. You just have to do it. Feelings are temporary. Habits are long-term. Choose actions that serve you and repeat them whether you feel like it or not. That's how you break through. That's how you move forward when others pause. That's how you remove every excuse and step fully into your potential by acting no matter what. Chapter 9. Train consistency until quitting feels impossible. Quitting becomes an option when consistency is treated like a temporary phase. If you only stay disciplined when it's convenient, you build a mindset that sees effort as optional. But when you train consistency every single day, not with perfection, but with honesty, something shifts in you. Your habits begin to form a new identity. It stops feeling like something you're trying to do and starts feeling like who you are. That's when quitting starts to lose its power over you. Not because it's forbidden, but because it simply doesn't feel natural anymore. To reach that point, you need to stop treating consistency like motivation. Motivation is a burst. Consistency is a choice. It's built through repetition. It's built by sticking to your word when it's boring, when it's hard, and when you don't feel like showing up. The purpose of training consistency isn't to show off how disciplined you are. It's to build a version of yourself who doesn't need to negotiate with excuses anymore. People often start strong. The first few days feel exciting. Change feels possible. But when the emotion fades, that's when you meet your real self, the version of you that either commits or looks for ways out. And this is where consistency training really begins. It's not about doing everything perfectly from day one. It's about staying in the game long enough that showing up becomes automatic. It's about acting even when there's no immediate reward. The way you do this is simple. You lower the resistance between you and your action. You make the process clear, repeatable, and small enough that you can't talk yourself out of it. Consistency becomes stronger when it's based on systems, not emotions. You don't wait until the conditions are right. You build your routine so that action becomes the default, not the exception. You also need to stop chasing intensity. A few days of extreme effort don't train consistency. They train burnout, and burnout makes quitting look appealing. But when you take small sustainable steps daily, you're building something that can last. You're not trying to prove anything. You're building a system that supports you even when you're tired, stressed, or distracted. Training consistency means training reliability, not for others, for yourself. You become someone you can count on, and that creates a kind of personal pride that can't be faked. Every time you follow through, you teach yourself that your effort matters. You prove that your words mean something. That level of self-trust becomes your foundation. It's what keeps you grounded. When things around you fall apart, there will be days when nothing seems to be working. When you feel like you're not making progress, when your mind tells you it's not worth it, that's when consistency becomes your armor. You show up because it's what you do, not because you feel inspired, not because someone is watching, but because you made a commitment to yourself. And that commitment is worth honoring. Over time, showing up becomes so normal that missing a day feels strange. Not because you're obsessed, but because you've changed. You've trained dues to see consistency as part of your identity. And when something becomes part of your identity, it's no longer a task. It's who you are. Quitting becomes harder not because you're forcing yourself to keep going, but because stopping would feel out of alignment with the person you've become. That's real progress. That's what training consistency does to you. It reshapes your habits, your mindset, and your inner standard. But you have to stay patient. Progress from consistency is slow in the beginning. You won't always feel the change, but the change is happening quietly in your thoughts, in your choices, in your response to challenges. You're becoming someone who doesn't back down when it gets tough. You're becoming someone who doesn't need outside pressure to act. This mindset frees you from self-doubt. You stop wondering if you can do it because you're already doing it. Each day you show up is another day you build a longer streak. Each streak adds weight to your identity. And the longer that streak gets, the harder it becomes to break. Not because you're afraid of failure, but because you've built something you don't want to lose. Consistency also protects you from emotional swings. When you rely on discipline instead of emotion, you don't rise and fall with every high and low. You become steady and steadiness wins. You stop needing to restart all the time because you're not breaking your own progress anymore. This doesn't mean you never take a break. Breaks are part of the process, but they're intentional, not emotional. They don't undo your identity. They recharge it. You rest and return. That's part of the rhythm. But you don't disappear. You don't abandon your path. That's the difference. To train consistency until quitting feels impossible, you have to attach meaning to the process. Your effort must be about more than just a goal. It must reflect your values, the way you live, the standard you hold. When your daily actions are connected to something deeper, you stop looking for shortcuts. You stop trying to escape hard days. You stay because you know why you're here. You also stop comparing yourself to others when you're focused on consistency. You don't care how fast someone else is moving. You care that you're moving, that you're doing your part. That kind of focus is rare. Most people drift because they're too busy watching others. But when you've trained your consistency, your eyes are on your own path. You don't need external validation. Your biggest strength will never be talent, luck, or opportunity. It will be your ability to keep showing up. That's what builds skill. That's what builds habits. Snorts, that's what builds success that actually lasts. Not for a week, not for a month, for life. You're not building willpower. You're building identity that's deeper, that sticks. And it sticks because you've proven it to yourself. One day at a time. Eventually quitting won't even cross your mind. Not because it's forbidden, not because you're stubborn, but because it just doesn't match who you are anymore. You're not trying this. You've become this. You don't need pressure. You live with purpose, and purpose doesn't quit. This is the reward of consistency. Not just progress, not just results, but transformation. You're no longer someone who needs to start over. You're someone who just keeps going, and that kind of person is powerful. That kind of person becomes unstoppable. Chapter 10. Earn confidence through relentless daily follow-through. Confidence is not something you're born with. It's not handed to you. It's not based on luck or personality or how loud you speak. Real confidence is something you earn, one action at a time. It's built quietly. It's built through effort that most people overlook. And if you want confidence that's unshakable, you must commit to relentless daily follow-through. Not when it's easy, not when the mood is perfect. Every day, whether you feel like it or not, you gain confidence not by shouting affirmations, but by keeping the small promises you make to yourself when no one's watching. When you say you'll do something and you do it, your brain registers that as proof, not theory, not talk, proof. And the more proof you give yourself, the more you start to believe in your ability to handle anything. Every time you follow through, you're voting for the person you want to become. And those votes add up. They don't require talent. They don't require permission. Just a choice. The choice to keep going. The choice to finish what you start. The choice to push forward when giving up feels easier. That's how belief is built. Not in a single breakthrough, but in showing up again and again. Especially when it's inconvenient. When people struggle with confidence, what they're usually struggling with is trust. They've boven their own words so many times that they stop believing themselves. They've started and stopped too often. They've said, "I'll do it tomorrow," more than they've said, "I did it today." And over time, their self-belief becomes shaky. But the good news is this. You can rebuild that trust. You can earn your way back. Not by doing everything at once, but by doing one thing today and actually finishing it. That's what daily follow-through does. It rewires your identity. It turns you from someone who tries into someone who does. It removes the mental noise. You stop wondering if you'll follow through because you already know you've done it every day. It becomes part of how you operate. Confidence isn't about pretending to be fearless. It's about knowing you can rely on yourself under pressure. And that reliability doesn't come from comfort. It comes from action, from repetition, from doing the right thing when you could have walked away. Every time you follow through, you build a stronger relationship with yourself. And that relationship becomes the foundation for everything else in your life. You don't need big wins to build confidence. You just need to stop skipping the basic. People overestimate what massive success will do for their belief and underestimate what small consistent actions do to their self-image. When you finish the workout, when you publish the work, when you clean the space, when you reflect at night, when you do what you plan, those are not just tasks. Those are identity builders, and when done daily, they shape a new version of you. This isn't about being perfect. It's about being relentless. That means you stay in the game. Even when you miss, you don't disappear. You come back stronger. That kind of discipline rewires the way you talk to yourself. It quiets the doubts. It gives you evidence to hold on to when things get hard. Most people wait to feel confident before they act. But confidence isn't a feeling you wait for. It's a result you create, and it only shows up after the work is done. That's the secret. Confidence is built in the doing, not the thinking. You don't need to know how everything will play out. You just need to do what you said you would today. Daily follow-through also trains your focus. It removes distraction. When you're locked into finishing your daily actions, you're not wasting time comparing or second-guessing your doing. And the more you do, the more clarity you gain. You're no longer overwhelmed by big goals because you're grounded in small action. This kind of consistency makes you dependable to others, yes, but more importantly to yourself. You don't flinch when things go wrong. You don't panic when a plan breaks because you know how to adjust and still show up. That quiet certainty, the one built through repetition, is what separates people who keep growing from those who keep hesitating. Confidence also grows when you stop negotiating with your emotions. When you no longer ask, "Do I feel like?" before taking action, you begin to respect yourself differently. You stop being controlled by your moods. You take ownership, and that ownership creates power. Follow through makes your mindset stronger. You don't just act when life is smooth. You act regardless. You stop needing a perfect morning or a clear path. You just keep moving forward step by step. That kind of mindset can't be faked. It's earned. And once you earn it, you carry it everywhere. When you follow through every day, you begin to separate yourself from your old self. The version of you who procrastinated, the one who made excuses, the one who waited, that person gets quieter as the new one, the one who finishes becomes louder. Start small. Pick a promise each morning that matters to you. Keep it, no matter how small it is, then pick another tomorrow. This is not about intensity. It's about stacking wins. You don't need motivation. You need momentum. And momentum is built through follow-through. Over time, this process creates a shift in how you see challenges. You stop being afraid of what's hard. You stop overthinking failure because you've trained yourself to trust the process, not just the result. That kind of thinking changes everything. You're no longer chasing confidence. You're living in it because your actions keep proving it's real. Confidence earned this way can't be taken from you. It doesn't depend on applause. It doesn't crumble under pressure. It grows through discipline. It grows when you stop waiting. It grows every time you act when no one sees it but you. And the truth is, those private victories matter more than anything else. What you do in silence becomes the reason you speak with strength. What you do alone becomes the reason you lead with certainty. What you finish daily becomes the reason you no longer question if you're capable because you've lived the answer. Keep showing up. Keep finishing. Keep building. Don't wait for belief. Earn it. That's how confidence is made. That's how self-respect is built. That's how progress becomes permanent. One promise kept at a time. One day followed through at a time. One honest action repeated until you no longer question who you were because your actions already proved it.